I want to thank WCAT for allowing us to do this show. People in the town are excited. They want to see the results. And I have to tell you, today, the election is still going on, folks. So if you have not voted yet, please make sure you get out. The polls are open until 8 o'clock. Precinct 4 is over at
Golden Drive.
Golden Drive. At the high school, we have precincts 1, 3, and 6. And at the Arthur T. Cummings, we have precincts 2 and 5.
Yes.
I should have known. I was there most of the day. Precinct 2 and 5. And I will tell you that turnout is big today.
I agree.
2 years ago, from precinct 2, we had 637 people came to precinct 2. As of today, at 4:30, we had already surpassed that. And when I left precinct 2 today at 6 o'clock, precinct 2 had over 757. So they were already at 100 people over. So I'm assuming that most of the polls are going to be higher numbers.
Just off of that right now, I can tell you, John, it will be, because I have all the data from the last couple elections for the town. And in 2015, which was 2 years ago, the total votes were 3,325.
Yeah.
And in precinct 2, the total was 671. So you're already surpassing that by, 6 o'clock this afternoon. So it's going to be much higher. So it'll be interesting to see how the totals for this year compared to 2 years ago and 4 years ago.
What was 4 years ago? Just
It
curious.
was very high.
Because 4 years ago, do you remember what the key question was on that ballot?
Schools.
It was the referendum of the schools.
School, or
Right,
school, however
the
you
high
want to say
school,
it.
middle school. And what was the total number that day?
We had 5,500.
Right.
So
Which was a big turnout.
it was huge. So a typical turnout is somewhere in between those two. It's usually around 4,500, give or take a few hundred. So it'll be interesting to see, like you said, John, how the turnout is today.
And that's without a ballot question tonight.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's
Good
right.
point.
I'm glad a number of people are coming out. It's very important.
Yeah, good turnout's always good.
So, Mr. Sanford,
Yes.
town council president, and you're retiring at the end of this year.
Retiring at the end of this term. Yes, after 12, this will be my 12th.
12 years.
Yes.
Well, first of all, I just want to tell you, thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, because you've done great work over the last 12 years. I know you were a part of the group that was the Charter Commission.
Original, right.
And we remember what that was.
Right, that's
putting
right.
this,
That was
the
that was
the
1 or 2
charter.
years worth of work.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Prior
then
to
we
it.
had the whole election process before that. And that was not, that was a close decision,
That's right, sure was.
remembering.
That's back with Dick Dimes and Joe Farino and Bob
right.
Corey. There was
That's
a number
right.
of us. I can't remember. Mike Carney. There's a whole bunch of us who stepped up.
I remember there were 27 people that ran for those slots.
That's right.
And
That's
nine of you-
right.
Nine of you
None
were
of them
elected.
Successful, yes.
And then, so it was obvious that there was a lot of push to move
Right,
into
to
that
make a change,
direction.
right.
But then there were some different articles in the charter that caused some people to have a hard time to let it go because town meeting was special in that end. But I think everybody was in agreement at that time that town manager was going to be a town manager, that they wanted. But it was a question of whether or not you let go of town meeting, form of government or
As
other.
well as selectmen, so on
Right.
and so forth. So
But I think it's been a successful
I think it
transition.
has. You know, all in all, again, you know, some folks feel as though we should still have town meeting representation. I think, you know, we're running a multi-million-dollar business, and
right.
it's a lot easier to do, you know, to get things accomplished this way than it was with the old form of government. So that's been a success in my mind.
I agree. It's funny, you know, I'm over at Stoneham now, and I've kind of gone back in time because I just went to town meeting. They had fall town meeting. And so what folks may not be aware of is some of those big decisions like transitions, I mean, monies and capital improve, all of those things can only be approved by town meeting. So now here we have the ability to let the town council do it.
And they meet pretty much every other week, whereas a town meeting would only meet twice a year. Right.
Twice a year. So, but in any event, we are very excited to have Russ here tonight because, you know, he served 12 years. You've been on since the council came
Yes,
aboard.
correct.
You have been elected as the Precinct 5
Yeah, that's
member.
right.
And tonight there will be a new Precinct
precinct,
5
right.
member elected.
That's right.
It's only this past year that you stepped away from Precinct 5 to become the town council
Correct.
president.
Yeah, probably, I think it's about 6 months ago. If I,
Well, how has it been?
Yeah.
How's it, you know what, I have to say, You know, it was unexpected, obviously. I've gotten tremendous support from the council and from town department heads, and obviously not only is there a new president, myself, for the last few months, but we're in the transition with a town manager. But that being said, Terry Delahunty is the town manager, interim town manager, doing a great job. He happens to be in Florida with his family for a few days of rest. I told him he timed it perfectly. But,
He did time it perfectly, though, too, because the kids have no school today
That's right.
and no
Friday.
school Friday,
No
so it was a good time to
Yeah,
take
so
the
it was a
kids
good
away.
time. But Terry's done a tremendous job. The council that sits with me and has sat with me for the last couple of years, as well as previous councils, have been very supportive, but especially when I took on my role as council president. And again, folks in department heads have all chipped in and tried to make my job a little bit easier. I wasn't expecting that to happen, but when it did happen, it was we all stepped up, and I appreciate all the support that I've gotten.
Well, you did. You stepped up at a difficult time. You came right in, and you you took leadership, and
Yeah.
so I applaud you for that.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
What would you say are some of your most proud accomplishments, Russ, in the time you've been on the council?
Well, I think obviously, you know, the change of government was important and was an accomplishment not only again by me but by lots of folks. I think one of the big things that we had been talking about, we talked about for many, many, many decades, is a master plan. We've accomplished that. You know, a lot of people right now we're focused on the center. However, a master plan really incorporates the whole town in different areas. And now we have a roadmap. It's not a document that's etched in stone. It's an evolving type of a document, but it gives us an opportunity to plan going forward. It also gives us an opportunity to go for some financial grants and different things through the state and other areas which we were kind of hogtied before. Okay. So the master plan's been an important part of what I feel was an accomplishment.
You know what I think is important to remind everybody is that when you make a transition into a new form of government, which we did, and we did that 12 years ago, the thing is what your main priority at that time is creating infrastructure and building a foundation.
Right.
You can't just, you can put the vision together, but the vision at that time was the transition.
Correct.
Now we've come out of that transition, and now to start to look at, okay, these are the types of master plans we want to be able to bring into it. I mean, the town of Winthrop in the education world has relatively brand new schools over the
That's
last
right.
15 years.
Yes.
The high school, middle school is now in its second year. We got a brand new stadium that's going to be opening up
Correct.
in 2
Miller
weeks.
Field, that's right.
So those types of things now have been built. So now that vision can continue on with now where do we want to go from here? And I think that's where we're at with the town now. It's that the council and the town managers that have been working and the town department heads have been working very hard to put together these types of programs. And so where do we go now? And I think that those discussions are important. Whether people agree or disagree, at least those discussions are happening.
And I think we've raised awareness with the master plan and some of the rezoning that's taken place. You know, a lot of folks now are, you know, somewhat concerned about development, whether we overdevelop what we do at the middle school, public safety, you know, building, whether it's fire and police department. So in the last 6 months, awareness has risen quite a bit, and people are questioning things, which is a good thing. You know, we didn't, this council or any of the committees that worked over the last 3 or 4 years relative to the center and or some of the other areas, really tried to get as much public comment as they could and input. And, you know, when push comes to shove, now we have to make some decisions, and people start paying more attention. So I think in that regard, it's good. You know, this next council coming in, there'll be some seasoned councilors there, and there'll be some new folks and new ideas, and you know, some different age groups. Some of the younger people are coming out now, which is great. And I think all in all, you know, the government we have, whether it's a federal or state level, and here at the local level, works well, and that we have raised the awareness, and people are questioning things, and that's all good. And ultimately, we hope we come up with a good and proper plan that works for the town of Winthrop. And that's always been my goal, and I think the whole council's goal, and past presidents included, and past councilors.
Well, you just mentioned that several of the town councilors will be newly elected in very shortly.
Right.
What advice would you give to them and the entire town council for that matter?
I think what I give advice to them, I've said this from the very beginning, and until you sit, and John, you know it, and Eric, until you sit in a particular chair, in this case the council chair, you really have, you have a sense of what to expect. But until you're sitting in that chair and having to make some of the decisions, it's a different world. Because you have to pay attention to your constituents, you have to pay attention for the greater good, and that's what I always say, what's the greater good for the whole community? Coming in, as a new counselor, I was fortunate enough, I was on a school committee. Prior to that, I was town meeting member prior to that. So I had a little bit of experience. Some of these folks have not really been involved with committees or previous political aspirations. So it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. But if I could make any suggestion to them, it would be to take some of the advice that you get from your fellow councils who have been there for a little while. Take a breath, really think things out. Realize that some of the decisions you make some people will accept, and some of the decisions you make, some folks won't accept. But you have to stay strong to your convictions and your morality and your ethics. And if I can give anybody any advice, which I think is something we've lost, is to be respectful and courteous to your fellow councilors and to your constituents. Mm-hmm. A lot of folks say, this whole issue of attitude has started, from the top down. But I say no, it hasn't started from the top down. And if it has, we have an opportunity here at the local level to set an example, not only for folks who are in now, but folks who are coming up and through the process. We can set the example here. We are a small town. I do respect the people. I didn't support a couple of the past presidents, in the past. But you know what? When they won the election, I respected them. I respected their position. I respected their office, and I vowed that I would work with them. And that's a big part of what I'm proud of too. Mm-hmm. We've worked well together to make things happen that were important for the town.
You said that publicly at the chamber event this past year when they recognized Peter Gill.
That's right.
You had mentioned that Peter was not your choice at the time, but how you guys grew to work very well together. And I think that's what we forget about when people run in an election, that they have to remember that they also need 4 or 5 other votes to support what they're trying to do, or in some cases they need a 2/3. So it's a working committee.
Right.
That's why they call it a committee.
Right, absolutely.
It's not an individual.
That's right.
But I would say to people who become elected to really make sure that you listen. I think it's important to listen to each other and to listen to the constituents, what they're saying to you, and take that time to digest what's happening, and then be respectful that you have a committee to work with.
Right.
Well, the campaign is over. Right now, it's
Yeah,
over.
The campaign is over.
And
You're correct.
it's time to govern.
That's right.
And I think those are some really
But
good words to share.
Yeah,
one other thing I want to talk about, just say too, though, is that Winthrop has excellent. I don't say this because, I was a department head. I've left being a department head, but when I worked in Winthrop, I worked with excellent department heads.
Absolutely.
So as a council, I would ask, and as a school committee, to trust those people that are in those decision makings, because you put them there for a reason. They know what they need to do, and they're going to come to you and give you good advice that they have, because their vision, they also have a vision too, and they're working with you on that, to have that vision.
On that vein, can I ask you, Russ, what's the status of the town manager?
The town manager, as you may or may not know, we put a committee together for a screening committee. We've also hired UMass Collins Center to evaluate some of the considerations. It's been advertised for the last, I think, 2 or 3 weeks now. We actually have 11 applicants for town manager. Okay. I don't know who they are yet, but I know that in talking to the Collins Center that they're very credible, or a good number of them are very credible, which is exciting. Those applicants will go to the screening committee. They'll evaluate them and turn them over, the Collins Center, and then they'll turn them over to the screening committee. The screening committee will have a chance to interview them, go through a process, and present to me as council president. I've asked for 3 considerations. At that point, I'd like to, obviously I'm involving the president-elect, whoever that might be. We'll know that in a little while. But I thought it was important. I put a committee of 7 together, 1 being a vacancy for the council president or the council-elect, president-elect. I think it was important that that person has the opportunity to sit, interview, and ultimately will be working with that person. So that the committee and that council president-elect will have a lot of influence on a decision if I have the opportunity to make it prior to 2018.
Well, what will the next couple of months be like for you? Are you going to be sitting down with the new council president-elect and going over things?
I'm hoping to sit down with the new council president-elect tonight to congratulate him,
Right.
and tomorrow morning to sit and bring him up to speed and talk about the transition. I wish the best to all three candidates at the council president level, but whoever that person happens to be, fortunate enough to be, I'm looking forward to working with them, transitioning the power into their hands as council president, and helping after January 1 in any way, shape, or form that I can. I'm not going away. I'm just retiring from politics.
I was going to ask you. So, what's the Russ Sanford going to be doing after he has these Tuesday nights off?
Well, now it's kind of in my blood, so I know I'm going to be. At the very least, I'll be watching WCAT.
I don't miss the
See
school
what's going
committee.
But what I'll be doing, I'm going to concentrate and focus on my business for the next couple of years. I'm 64, so I'm looking forward, God willing, having my health and being able to enjoy some of the things that I haven't been able to have the time for. So that's what I'll be doing. But I'm going to be around for anybody. I won't jump on board unless someone asks me for advice or for help. And what's important is the town of Winthrop and making things happen and continuing that momentum that we've all worked for as far as a council.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you too,
Yeah.
Thanksgiving is coming up pretty soon.
Yes.
Fast approaching.
Yes.
Do you have any updates on Millerfield?
Millerfield, we met with the town manager, Gil Bain, and a few folks from Millerfield, the contractors, last week. There were some concerns about some things that we'd heard through the grapevine or heard from some credible folks. It sounds as though right now everything is on schedule for the Thanksgiving Day game. Ultimately, the town manager's responsibility is to sign off on that project. I still see it going forward.
Okay.
We have to consider some of the things going forward, but I think we're on schedule. I guess for not to.
I mean, bringing that up, I would say that they have done an incredible job.
Yeah.
This committee
For sure.
and Gil Bain
Yeah.
Yes.
and the crew.
Yeah.
I mean, it was only less than 7 months ago we still was tearing things down.
Right.
And if you haven't driven by it, it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous, yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
it's almost unreal.
right, what people need to know is that the field house component will not be built
Right.
Until after
for
the winter.
Thanksgiving. That's going to be built in the spring, but that's being built by students from the Northeast Vocational
Correct.
School.
Oh, cool.
So it is, and there's a ticket booth that's being built by our Viking Longship.
Right.
No
crew.
way.
Yeah.
So that's the student part of it,
Right.
and
That's
that's
excellent.
part of why some of those other areas. But as far as the field goes and the stadium, all of that is on schedule, is what I was told. And I talked today to Matthew Manuelson from Gil Bain. And he says they are doing everything they can to get it done.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of look at it as, hey, we do the theater world,
Right.
and I feel like it's 2 weeks away from showtime. And anybody who's done a show, you know that 2 weeks away from a showtime until you get to the show, there's a huge
A lot happens.
difference that's going to happen.
Yes.
So,
Right.
but I'm looking forward. I'm going to go to the Thanksgiving game in Winthrop.
Yes.
And I'm really excited about it.
Yeah.
But it looks so beautiful.
Yeah.
Also, we talked a little bit too, we touched on center revitalization.
Right.
I know that's been one of, obviously, with you, Russ, being
Right.
part of the chamber and also representing Precinct 5,
Yeah.
been sort of one of your areas that you've been focused on. What do you see the future happening in that area?
Well, I see we rezoned it a while ago in hopes that we might get some interest from developers. That didn't seem to happen. We were successful in receiving a grant from the state, thanks to Robert DeLeo and Jay Asham, Economic Development Secretary. So the infrastructure is almost ready to start.
Terrific.
There's been a lot of things going on in
Okay.
the center relative
Oh, yes.
to gas lines and so on and so forth. But that's only the beginning of the work. So what we're doing now, we're getting some final plans for a landscape architect and what the center is actually going to look like. And within the next couple of weeks, we should have that completed. And that has to be, voted on by the council. So once that's voted on, then we'll hire the folks to do the engineering and start the groundwork relative to water, sewer, and drainage in and around the center. So there's a lot of exciting things happening. There's some parcels and some properties down there that have been of interest to developers. Some of the plans have been brought forward. Some have been brought back in a way. So we're hopeful that that's going to be getting started in the spring, and it could be mixed use by right. Some concerns about how dense we want the center to be, but again, that's something that the new council will be working on going forward, as well as the planning board.
Great.
Well, there's a lot of construction going on in town,
Oh,
from the
yes.
beach to the
Yes,
center and all
yes.
over.
Oh, we hear about that.
What stage are we in at the beach? I know that they've been laying a lot of pipes down the roads, and now I see them coming down Pearl Ave, doing stuff that way as well.
Right.
But I'm assuming that they're trying to get, and the weather's been pretty good for them.
So far,
They're
yeah.
trying to get all that piping work out,
Right.
but they won't get into the
The final
street or sidewalks until the spring.
until the spring. There'll be a binder put on, and we'll still have some bumpy roads, but not as bumpy, hopefully, as we have now.
Right.
But that's going to be, it's going to go right into the spring.
There's been questions. Is the directions changing
No.
once that's done?
No.
Is it still?
Still going to remain two ways.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's good. You can clear up those
Yeah,
rumors.
no,
'cause
that's-
there's
yeah.
been some rumors out there that
No,
it's
no,
going
that's
to be a one-way.
No, it's going to be still a two-way.
Okay, all right.
Part of a two-way road.
So you heard that live here,
That's right.
beach residents. It's going to be a two-way. It's not a
Yeah,
one-way.
no.
What time is it, Eric? Where are we at on the?
I'm glad you mentioned it, John, because polls will be closing in just a couple minutes. So if you rush down, you could probably still get in line. But as soon as the polls do close, we're going to have the results as they come in. We have a system in place this year, so we can hope to get the results to you quickly. And I think it's going to be a close race.
I believe
And
it is.
I think, as we talked about before, the totals will be higher because I think we have more contested races this year than a couple years ago. Down the line, you look at school committee, you look at precinct 5, and in a second, John, maybe if you want to go over, all of the races, that'd be great. But I just want to ask you one more question, Russ, before you have to go. How do you feel right now?
Good question.
After all, it's got to be a mixture of emotions.
It is. It's a little bittersweet sometimes. I love being. I never wanted to sit on the sidelines and criticize anybody making the decisions. That's one of the reasons I chose many years ago to become part of. I still enjoy being part of the decision making. I enjoy talking to people and hearing from people. It's a tough job sometimes because you have to make decisions that not everybody again is happy with, but you stay focused on what the greater good is. I'm excited about finishing up in January. I'm excited for whoever the new person is. I know we've got some great contestants, for the president's seat as well as for the rest of the council. I look forward to their ideas, their energy. I'm excited for the town, and I'm looking forward again to these new leaders coming forward and making a difference and feeling good about it. So, yeah.
Russ, you've done a wonderful job.
Thank you, John.
Okay,
Appreciate that.
I mean, really, you've done a wonderful job. You as well as the committee and
The council, yeah.
I mean the council,
Yeah.
and you need to take a lot of credit for the work you've done
thank you.
for the people of Precinct 5, and I thank you for your service. And I know
For the whole town, really.
Yeah.
Even I felt like even though you were a Precinct 5 counselor,
Right.
I felt like you always were thinking of the town at large.
Yeah.
In all your decisions.
I think all of the council does, whether you're an at-large or whether you're a precinct council.
And I can honestly tell people that as a superintendent, or even before that when I was a school committee member, if I ever needed to call you, you were always there.
Yes.
You always answered your phone. You always helped wherever was needed. But what I appreciate, and there were times that you and I might disagree
Right.
on certain things, but what I always appreciated is that you did what you thought was in the best interest of the town of Winthrop. And we
Absolutely.
can't ask for anything more than that. So I really
Thank
want
you.
to thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
everything.
Thank you, Russ.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you so much. And thank you for coming on with us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank
know.
you. Look forward to hearing
Yeah, we'll see
later
what
on
happens.
about the results. So.
That's right.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, great.
All right,
So,
thanks,
ladies
Russ.
and gentlemen, I just want to let you know that
It is
if
8
you-
o'clock.
It is 8 o'clock, so the polls most likely have closed. However, if people are still in line for those polls, they will be eligible to vote. And if you're a candidate tonight who is in this election and you'd love to stop by, please do.
Yes.
and have an opportunity to thank the public. Eric and I would love to have you come by and give you an opportunity to have some on-screen time. I know that we really appreciate those of you who took the risk
Yes.
to run. It's not easy. And when we sit on the sidelines, it's easy for us to be the Monday morning quarterback and tell you how things should be.
Right.
But when you put yourself out there, it's difficult. And especially at an election, because an election shows who you are and what you're trying to do. So I want to congratulate all the candidates tonight because I think this has been one of the best campaigns that Winthrop has seen in many, many years.
Yeah, if I could add to that, John, before the results come in, I think it is important to thank all the candidates for running, because just by putting your name on that ballot takes a lot of courage, and that in itself is making a contribution to our community. You know, I think that for democracy to work, it's important that we have, voters have choices.
Right.
And I think everybody who ran contributed and added to the marketplace of ideas. And that is healthy because it's not just, you know, democracy at a state level or, you know, national level, but here we get to decide who our leaders are in our town, and it's wonderful.
And I think wherever you were last year on the national level,
Right.
I think the national level has had a huge impact in getting people to want to get involved. I really do. And I saw it today. One thing I will tell you
Yes.
is that there are a lot of new people who've moved into Winthrop, and they want to see change, and they want to see things that are happening. And they were at those polls today.
That's good.
And so that is good, because we want people to be active.
Well, I don't want to go on a rant here, but I think I might go on a mini rant. I talked to a couple friends today who told me they do not vote in local elections. And I said, why not? I mean, if you think about it on your day-to-day experience, that probably has a greater impact on your life. When you talk about just the roads, the schools, your trash pickup, I mean, you go down the line, and they were just not interested in that. And yet they will vote for president or vote, you know, for senator or governor. And it just bothered me that for some reason they just didn't see the interest in participating at a local level. So when you say that people are trying to get more involved, that makes me feel a little bit better. And hopefully I think people will understand that, you know, a local election has great significance. You know, who's going to be our next council president is going to make a big difference, I think, in our town. So, you know, we're going to have the results very shortly, but I would definitely encourage people to, you know, not just bypass these local elections.
Well, and get involved in the town. Even if you're not as an elected official, there are multiple committees that this town
Yes.
has. And whoever comes on tonight as the town council president and the new town council and school committee, they're going to want your involvement. You know,
Right.
they don't want to be just the only ones that make that decision. They want to hear from the people, and I think that's important. One thing I do want to add, though, is I want to give a special congratulations out to our town clerk, Carla Vitale, and her crew. They do an amazing job.
Good point.
And great work to get these town elections up, and also to all of the folks that are working the polls today.
Yes.
Those are long hours. I don't know if you realize that, but people get up and they're there at 5:30 in the morning, and they don't leave until the election, every vote is counted, with the exception of some people who decide to go and do a TV show. But
Yeah, you were doing work.
I
in the
did.
polls,
Today
right?
I worked at Precinct 4 in the morning, and then in the afternoon I was at Precinct 2. But, and we had, I will tell you, we had the new machines.
Oh yeah.
They were great. They were
Okay.
great. Winthrop, your tax dollars on those machines were excellent.
Okay.
I can tell you from a big difference from last year. Last year on the machines where we were having jams left and right.
Because it's the manual feed. That
Correct.
goes, yeah.
And now what's happening is folks are able to, when they put their ballot in,
Yeah.
it talks to you. It tells you, okay, the ballot has been, it's being processed, it's been cast, it's successfully done, completed.
Okay.
So now you know it's in there. However, if you may have not circled the dot too hard or something, or you might have what they call an indigenous mark.
Okay.
That ballot will be pushed back to you as the person.
Really?
And you have the ability to go and fix that. Or if you
okay.
overvote on it, it'll tell you you've overvoted in a particular category, and then it will tell you the category, and then you're allowed to take that ballot back and re-vote if you so choose. Or in some cases, which we did have today, some people said, that's okay, and then they have the right to cast it. But these machines allow you, the voter, to have total control of that, putting that ballot in and really having it happen.
In the accounting profession, John, we would call that a preventative control, as opposed to a detective control or a corrective control, which was probably what's happening in the past, is you would come across at the end of the day, right, and come across these ballots that had these issues. Now, the fact that they're spotting them before they're counted probably is going to make for just a whole better process, and especially from a voter's perspective. Because you know, okay, if there was an issue, like you said, they're correcting it right away, and then putting it back in before there's any issues.
And in the conversation with people today, it was like, you could see, at first they were like, oh, I'm not sure, I don't understand.
Okay.
But then when they realized it, they were like, oh, this is great.
My
vote really does count.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I had no idea.
But you know, that's we talked with Russ and we talked about the vision. That's the vision of our town clerk. She knew that we needed to go in that direction.
Right.
And the wardens of the precincts, they all fought vehemently to make sure that those machines were there. I mean, last year, yes, the presidential election was a large election.
Yes.
And we also had over 3,000 people that had voted before Election Day.
Oh, wow.
And we had to put all of those ballots in during that time, which I think that they're going to make changes for that in the future.
Okay.
But we saw, it took a while.
Okay.
What's
so
going on,
we're
Andrew?
getting some votes in.
We are. Okay.
Before we do that,
let me talk about who's running.
You run through that quickly, and then I have some votes I can.
Okay, great.
I got some
so
results.
as you all, I just want to remind everybody for Town Council President, and I'm going to go in the orders of the ballots. We had Jeffrey Rosario Turco, Richard N. Boyajian, and Ronald V. Vecchia. They are running for Town Council President. Councilor at Large, we have Robert A. DeMarco and Michael Lacerdo. In Town Council 1, we have Michael McDuffie, who is running unopposed. So I assume that once that closes, Michael will be elected. Town Councilor 3, Nick LaConte, is running, and Nick will be elected as soon as that gate is
Yes,
closed.
he's unopposed also.
Precinct 5, we have two people, Steve Kudalaskis and Peter Christopher. They are running. For school committee, we have 4 people running for 3 slots: James Fabiano, Jennifer Powell, John Lyons, and Brian Perrin. Winthrop Housing Authority, we have 5 people running for 2 slots: Peter Gill, Vincent Wisniewski Jr., Peter Burke Jr., Marie Matarazzo, and Frederick Silk III. And then for trustees of the public library, we have 3 members running: Jillian Texera, Betty Nicholas Peabody, and Virginia F. Wallace. And I believe they will all be elected because there was vote for 3 for 4 years.
Okay.
So what do we got?
We got some breaking news.
Okay, breaking news. Go ahead.
It's going to be a very, very close race for council president between Ron Vecchia and Jeff Turco.
Okay, so what do you got for any precincts coming in?
I do.
All right, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. First precinct to come in, as usual, is Precinct 4.
Yes.
And we have Ron Vecchia at 283 votes.
Okay.
Jeff Turco at 256 votes, and Rich Boyajian at 70 votes. And we also have Precinct 3.
So that was Precinct 4 at 283 for Ron Vecchia.
256 for Jeff Turco.
256 for Jeff Turco, and Rich
70
Boyajian
Yeah.
for 70. Okay. And
Precinct 3, I just have those, they're coming in right now.
Okay.
Ron Vecchia, 284.
284.
Jeff Turco, 274.
274. Okay.
Rich Boyajian, 59.
59.
Okay, now I have Precinct 1. Very close. Ron Vecchia at 380.
380.
Jeff Turco at 383.
383.
And Rich Boyajian at 123.
23.
I'm getting Precinct 6 in.
Okay.
The Precinct 6 is coming in right now. We've got Ron Vecchia at 278,
Okay.
Jeff Turco 253, and Rich Boyajian at 84. Which means we had Precinct 2 and Precinct 5
Precinct
outstanding.
2 and 5, and those were the precincts I was at today.
That's the
and they
Cummings
had-
School, and
they
that will be
had
coming in.
Lots of people.
Okay. Those will be coming in very, very shortly. Okay, that's the Cummings School precinct. Let me give you the totals.
Yeah, can you give us totals of
Totals,
those four?
we've got Ron Vecchia at 1,225, Jeff Turco 1,166, and Rich Boyajian at 336.
So what is the difference between Jeff Turco
I can give you the percentage breakdown. Right now, Ron Vecchia is at 44.9%, and Jeff Turco is at 42.75%. So you're looking at 45 to 43% right now between Ron Vecchia and Jeff Turco, and Rich Boyajian is at 12%.
Okay, and I'm looking at, so we're looking at a 59 vote difference going into those last two precincts.
Exactly.
So that's
Good math. 50.
that-
That is close. That is very
That's
close.
extremely close.
Because precinct 5 is a pretty large precinct.
And
So
precinct 2 I will tell you, I was in
It's big.
precinct 2 today, and precinct 2 was.
it all comes down to precinct 2 and 5. We have those. That is a very close race. Let me just run those numbers by you again, and then I'll get on to the other races. Okay.
Okay, great.
So let's start with precinct 1.
Yes.
You've got. I'm just going to go right down the order of the ballot this time. Jeff Turco 383, Rich Boyajian 123, and Ron Vecchia 380.
So in that precinct right there, you have 3 votes difference.
Jeff Turco has won precinct 1 by 3 votes.
And these are unofficial, just so everybody, excuse me.
Precinct 2, we're waiting on those results. Precinct 3, there's a 10-vote margin in Precinct 3, just 10 votes. You've got Jeff Turco at 274, Rich Boyajian at 59, and Ron Vecchia at 284.
So this is a great lesson in civics, folks. When they tell you every vote counts, every vote counts. They're
Very
gonna show
close.
you that right there.
Very close. So you've got Ron Vecchia winning Precinct 3 by 10 votes.
Right.
Precinct 4, my precinct, we've got Jeff Turco at 256, Rich Boyajian at 70, and Ron Vecchia at 283.
Okay, so that was, yeah. That was a difference of 27 votes.
You've got Precinct 5 that we don't have the results yet. Precinct 6, we have Jeff Turco at 253, Rich Boyajian 84, and Ron Vecchia at 278.
Right. So there's a total of 59 votes difference as we go
Right.
into precinct 2 and
So
precinct 5.
Ron Vecchia is doing very well in Precinct 6. He's won that precinct by 25 votes.
Right.
Okay,
And
so
he won
far,
precinct 4 by 27 votes.
right. So right now, the total number of votes, not including Precinct
Right.
2 and Precinct 5, is 2,728. Just to give you a comparison, last year total townwide, I'm sorry, the last election 2 years ago, total townwide was 3,325 votes cast. We will exceed that this year.
Yes.
The vote total will be greater than it
So
was
that
2
vote
years ago.
total of 2,728 votes
Is
was
4
just
out of 6 precincts.
4 out of 6 precincts.
Right. So we're going to be much higher than we were 2 years ago.
All right. So do we
let's
have,
go.
let's go to Counselor at Large. Where are we at that on that one? Do you have any results on that?
I only have Precinct 4 for that
All right.
one.
Well, let's
right
give
now.
that because I'm sure folks want to see where that is currently.
Okay. For Precinct 4, I got a lot. Why don't I just give you the rest of Precinct 4? Because those are the results. I have everything in from Precinct
Let's
4.
do that.
Counselor at Large, Rob DeMarco is at 249, and Mike Lacerdo is at 320.
Okay.
So to give you a breakdown on percentage, that would be Mike Lacerdo's got 56% to Rob DeMarco at 44%. Okay. School committee, very close.
Okay.
Okay. So as you mentioned before, we have 4 candidates
And only 3 are
and 3
elected.
spots. Okay, so here you go. Jim Fabiano, 356. Jen Powell, 326. John Lyons, 275. And Brian Perrin, 345.
Okay.
That's Precinct 4.
So that's
So
school
you're
committee?
ranging between John Lyons has 21% of the vote, and you have Jim Fabiano at 27% of the vote. So again, that is very close. All
Close,
4
and that's
can-
just precinct 4. coming
That's
in
just
right
Precinct
now.
4, but you have, the indications would be that that is also a fairly close race between those 4 candidates. There isn't somebody that's kind of just jumped out of the pack. So now you have for Housing Authority, that's another big race going on right now. Precinct 4, the results are in on that. And again, we're voting for 2.
2.
The leader is Peter Gill at 342. He's followed by, Marie Matarazzo. She has 223, followed by Fred Silk at 208, and then Peter Burke, 160, and then Vincent Wisniewski is at 49.
Okay.
So in Precinct 4, you have Gill in first place, Marie Matarazzo in second place.
Second place right now. Right?
And then Fred Silk in third place, and then Peter Burke in fourth, and then Vincent Wisniewski in fifth place. And that's just Precinct 4. I'm getting the other results in, but that's the one I have right now.
If you go to Precinct 4 on the school committee, you have Jim Fabiano in first place, followed by Brian Perrin in second place, Jennifer Powell in third, and then John Lyons in fourth.
Yes.
So what do we, and our trustee library, we know that they're all in.
Right. We'll have those at the end of the night.
We will have those results for you, but we're going to do the contested races first.
We do have some results in.
For which precinct now?
I've got 2 and 5 in.
2 and 5 in for the town council president? Okay, let's see what you got.
I will read off the results for Precinct 2 and then Precinct 5, and I think we're ready to announce a winner.
Okay, great.
For council president. It is very, very close.
So what do you have for Precinct 2?
Precinct 2, Jeff Turco, 435 votes. Ron Vecchia, 335 votes.
Wow.
Rich Boyajian, 101.
So there's a big win there for Jeff Turco. And
He won that by 100 votes, Precinct 2. Precinct 5. It all comes down to Precinct 5.
It does,
Don.
because now you have Jeff now, after those 5 precincts, is now ahead by
He's in the lead.
41 votes.
Yes. So it all comes
down. You have a
down.
41 difference in Precinct 5. So what do you have for Precinct 5?
So this is where it's going to come down to. Precinct 5. Jeff Turco, 380.
Okay.
Rich Boyajian, 147. Ron Vecchia, 431.
Oh my gosh, so what's the total there?
The total is, it's a 10 vote by a 10
vote
margin.
Margin is Ronald Vecchia. So ladies and gentlemen, this is breaking news. We have, according to our results that we have gotten in at this point, we have Ronald Vecchia winning the town council presidency by 10 votes. Wow.
Very close.
Very, very,
Very
close.
close.
Wow, 10 votes on that. So can we give those numbers again, and can we, when we get a chance, can we show those numbers to the public? I know that our crew of Mike Cabral, Johnny Cataldo, Betsy Shane, Matt Rose, Kurt Erickson, and Barbara Bishop are out there working to make sure that that stuff happens. So there's Precinct 4 up on the board for Jeff Turco. He had 256. Rich Boyajian, 70, and Ron Vecchia, 283. Do we have the next precinct?
Yeah, we're still inputting some of the
Okay, great.
the precincts that just came in.
So there's Precinct 1. Precinct 1 was won by Jeff Turco at 383, Rich Boyajian 123, and Ron Vecchia at 380. Let's go on to the next precinct when we get a chance.
All right, well, okay.
Okay, so we'll get those results to you as
But we do
go.
have a final.
So
final,
what's the final? What do you have for a final number?
Right now, the final total for council president is, well, you're seeing Precinct 3 numbers right now.
Precinct 3.
But we do have, I can announce the total votes.
All right, let's just show and then there's Precinct 2 right there.
Right.
Jeff Turco won Precinct 2 by 100 votes. He was at 435. Rich Boyajian 101, and Ron Vecchia at 335.
Okay. So the total, this is the total vote right now. We have we had 4,557 votes cast.
4,557.
Which is fairly typical for a town election.
Right.
Ron Vecchia had 1,991 votes total.
Wow.
Jeff Turco, 1,981 votes, which means Ron Vecchia won by 10 votes. Rich Boyajian finished third with 584 votes. Those are the total votes with all precincts in for town council president. Now we have another race we can call.
Okay. So what do we have for numbers on that race? on the counselor at large?
For counselor at large, I have,
It looks like on counselor at large,
I'll just run through these quickly. We have
Please
got
do.
2 candidates. I got numbers for precinct 2. Rob DeMarco has 324, and Mike Lucerto has 477. That's precinct 2.
precinct 2. So Michael won precinct 2 and he won precinct 4.
And he also won precinct 5.
Okay.
The numbers for precinct 4 for counselor at large is Rob DeMarco 249, Mike Lucerto 320, as you
Okay.
see right there. And precinct 5 for counselor at large, Rob DeMarco 318, Mike Lucerto 465. That's precinct 5. Now, I've also got numbers coming in for the other precincts. Precinct 6, we've got Rob DeMarco at 264, Mike Lucerto at 292.
Okay.
And I can give you the total for all 6 precincts.
Why don't you do that?
And we do have somebody.
So, so it appears, folks, that the counselor at large elect is going to be Michael P. Lucerto at what votes? How many votes?
Mike Lucerto received 2,279 votes.
Okay, for Michael.
And Rob DeMarco received 1,799 votes. So that's a 56% to 44% margin.
So congratulations to Michael Lucerto.
Yes.
For his victory, and congratulations to Rob DeMarco. I want to say that I had the opportunity to do a show with both of them, and both individuals were outstanding. And so thank you both for running, and congratulations to Michael. And if either one would like to come down, please do so. The same goes for our town council presidents. If you'd like to stop down, please do so. And I want to applaud you 3 as well, Mr. Vecchia, Town Council President-elect unofficially, Mr. Turco, and Mr. Boyajian for their great campaigns that they ran.
Right. Right now you're seeing the total results for counselor at large, 2,279 for Mike Lucerto and 1,799 for Rob DeMarco.
So I just want to remind everybody that all of these numbers that we're giving you right now are unofficial results.
Right.
So that's important because we're getting those from people that are getting that stuff from the precincts. But all of these are unofficial results right now. So what we're giving you is those figures.
Right,
So what were you saying, Eric?
I'm going to run through all 6 precincts for counselor at large one more time.
Great.
And then we're going to start going to the school committee.
Do we have precinct 5
for the counselor?
for the counselor between Steve
We're
Kudalakis
working on
and
it.
Peter Christopher?
We're working on it. That's coming in very soon.
Okay.
After this, we can start going through the school committee.
That'd be great. And then Housing Authority as well.
Yes. So counselor at large, I'm just going to go very quickly. Precinct 1, you have Rob DeMarco at 396, Mike Lucerto 420. Precinct 2 for counselor at large, you've got Rob DeMarco 324, Mike Lucerto 477. Precinct 3 for counselor at large, you've got Rob DeMarco at 248, Mike Lucerto at 305. Precinct 4, Rob DeMarco 249, Mike Lucerto 320. Precinct 5, you have Rob DeMarco at 318, Mike Lucerto 465, and finally Precinct 6 for counselor at large, Rob DeMarco 264, Mike Lucerto 292. The totals are Rob DeMarco 1,799, and your new counselor at large, Mike Lucerto, at 2,279. So that's a split of 56% to 44%. Now I have the results coming in for school committee.
Great. Let's move on that. So
All
we
right.
had precinct 4, and we were at that time, we had 356 for James Fabiano, 326 for Jennifer Powell, 275 for John Lyons, and 345 for Brian Perrin.
Okay, great. Why don't I start with precinct 1?
Sounds
We'll just
like
go
a
right
good
down
plan.
the list here.
Yes.
For school committee, here we go. Jim Fabiano, 503.
They're not going to have them on the board. Oh, there we go.
Jen
503.
Powell, 482. John Lyons, 398. Brian Perrin, 537. That's precinct 1.
Precinct 1.
Precinct 2, we have for school committee, Jim Fabiano, 558. Jen Powell, 479. John Lyons, 379. And Brian Perrin, 521. Precinct 3 for the school committee.
Oh, We don't have any results up there. Oh, there they go. I think they just
Yes,
came up.
they're just coming in right now. Jim Fabiano, 347. Jen Powell, 332. John Lyons, 281. And Brian Perrin, 384. Now on to Precinct 4 for school committee. We have Jim Fabiano, 356. Jen Powell, 326. John Lyons, 275. And Brian Perrin, 345. Now on to Precinct 5 for the school committee. Jim Fabiano, 564. Jen Powell, 550. John Lyons, 450. And Brian Perrin, 573.
Oh, look at how close these are.
It's very, very close. We're getting the results for Precinct 6 in right now. And we have for Precinct 6, Jim Fabiano is at 358. Jen Powell is at 358. John Lyons is at 271. And Brian Perrin is at 361. So we have 3 members of the school committee elected tonight.
So Brian Perrin
Came in first place.
First place, and Brian Perrin will retain his seat on the school committee. I think this is Brian Perrin's 3rd term
Yes.
that he's elected to the school committee, so congratulations to Brian Perrin. And at 2nd place was Jim Fabiano?
It was at 2,686.
So Jim Fabiano is newly elected to the school committee, as well as
Jen
Jennifer Powell is newly elected to the Winthrop School Committee. And there's the final results up there that are unofficial. I'm going to keep repeating that tonight. So if we could put that screen back up, that would be great, just for 1 second. So I could go through the final results on the school committee.
I'll just read them off real quickly. I'll
That'd
give you
be
the
great.
percentages because that makes it a little easier.
Okay.
You've got Brian Perrin at 27.2% in first place. Jim Fabiano at 26.9% in second place. And in third place, Jennifer Powell at 25.3%. So it was a fairly close margins there. And in fourth place, John Lyons at
and here again-
20.5%.
Right, and I want to thank all 4 candidates. I want to especially thank, John was not victorious this round, but thank you, John. John has served in the
Yes.
past as a school committee member, as a chair of the school committee, and I am sure that John will continue to work and support Winthrop and the schools as best he can. So, but congratulations to those 3 elected, newly elected tonight for the next term.
As the former superintendent to the town of Winthrop, John, any words you'd like to share with the new members of the school committee?
I would just say that, as sitting in the school, as a member of the school committee
That's right. Yeah.
for 4 years, and then being the superintendent for 6 years, it's important, as I said earlier when we were talking with Russ, it's important to listen. Make sure that you listen, and also work with all of your school committee members to make sure that you get the decisions that you think best affect students.
Right,
That's what
right.
we're in. We're in the business of students here, so we want them to do well on that.
Okay. And we have the results in for the Winthrop Housing Authority.
And just so, I just want to make sure, I just want to remind anybody, if you are watching and you are an elected official or newly elected official tonight and you would like to stop down, please do so. We are here. So, in the Winthrop Housing Authority, would you like to go through those numbers?
I can go through the numbers if you want to just make a call right now.
I will make a call for the Winthrop Housing Authority. I feel like it's like CNN, we're supposed to come out with breaking news. We're making a call on the top of the hour. But it appears that first place is Peter Gill. Peter Gill was serving on the Housing Authority, and he has been elected to a new 4-year term. Congratulations to Peter Gill, as well as Frederick Silk. Frederick Silk, I believe, was also currently serving a term on the Housing Authority. He was appointed onto it, and tonight he's officially been elected to that. When we have those numbers of the totals, we'll be able to put those up so that everybody can see what those differences were in those, unless you have the percentages.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are still coming in on
Okay.
Housing Authority, but I can start running through them pretty quickly.
But you're pretty sure that those two are far.
I am 100% certain.
Okay.
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 In fact, I can give you just a rough percentage. These are approximate. You got Peter Gill at 36%. Fred Silk is at 29%.
Okay.
Now, these are going to change just a little bit because I'm getting some numbers in, but there was a wide difference between.
I can see them numbers coming in now.
Right,
Yeah.
between those two and then the rest of
And it
the.
looks like you've gotten them all in now, so that tells you what those percentages are there.
Yeah, this one was a clear race to call.
Yep.
There were two candidates that finished
Right.
a distance.
And I think their experience on the housing has probably was help. But here again, 5 people running. That's wonderful.
Absolutely.
And hopefully these people who did not prevail tonight will at least want to continue.
Okay. So I'm just going to give you the totals on the Housing Authority, and then we've got Precinct 5 results. The numbers for the totals, as you can see right there for Housing Authority, Peter Gill, 2,595.
There we go. Great.
Yep. And then you have Vincent Wisniewski at 357, Peter Burke at 1,095, Marie Matarazzo at 1,173, and Fred Silk at 2,045. We do have the results for Precinct 5, John.
Okay, so for Precinct 5, the race that was between Steve Kudlowski and
Peter
Christopher, it appears that we have a winner, and Peter Christopher received 667 votes, and Steve Kudlowski to 248. So Peter Christopher has been officially elected to a 4-year term. As you know, Peter was appointed by the town council earlier this past year when Mr. Sanford became the town council president. So congratulations to Peter Christopher on his election tonight.
That was a sizable margin there. That's about 73% to 27% on that race.
But here again, I want to thank Steve for running.
Yes.
I think it's important. And so I think...
and I have the votes in too for Precinct 3 and Precinct 1, even though those
Let's
candidates
see what they
ran
look
unopposed.
like.
Okay.
Okay.
Precinct
Mr. McDuffie,
3,
you got 665 votes.
That's Precinct 1, yes. Michael McDuffie.
And out of how many people voted in that precinct?
Okay, John.
I think
Wait
it's
a second.
important.
Give
I
me a
like to do that, only
second here.
because I
Okay.
ran uncontested one year, and it's always
All right.
nice to know.
Okay, well, unofficially, we have 886 votes cast in Precinct 1. That's not counting the blanks and write-ins.
But 665 is pretty darn good when you're running that, so
and
excellent
then
job there.
For Precinct 3
Yes, for Nick LaConte.
is 466 votes. He again ran unopposed.
Ran unopposed, and
then all we have left to go through is the trustees of the library. I'm just going to give the totals because all 3 have been reelected.
they have.
They ran unopposed. But congratulations to all 3 candidates. Jillian Teixeira had 3,022 votes. Betty Pewdy had 3,042 votes. And Virginia Wallace had 3,093 votes. So congratulations to all 3.
Wow, they were all pretty close right there.
Yes, they were.
So congratulations, ladies, and thank you for the work that you're doing with the library.
Now, John, I've been asked to go through the council president vote again.
Please, I think we need to do that.
It's very close.
Yes.
The other races were not so razor thin. The council president was a very, very close race. So why don't we go through each precinct if we
I
can?
think it would be good if, is there a possibility? Yes, let's start with Precinct 1.
Let's start with Precinct 1, and John, do you want to go through?
Sure,
And,
can read
you see
through
the
the-
total results right there, but John will go through each
So
precinct.
Jeff Turco in Precinct 1 was 383, Rich Boyajian was 123, and Ron Vecchia was 380. So in that precinct, Jeff Turco prevailed by 3 votes. 3 votes. This
Wow.
is incredible. Now let's go to Precinct 2. Precinct 2, Jeff Turco
Carried
also
big.
prevailed, and he
Big.
carried big. He was at 435 to Rich Boyajian's 101 to Ron Vecchia's 335. So now, if you look at just 1 and 2, Jeff Turco's up by 103 votes over Ron Vecchia. And now, moving to Precinct 3. So on Precinct 3, Jeff Turco 274, Rich Boyajian at 59, and Ron Vecchia at 284. So Ron cuts back into now down by 93 as you look at that, because he made up 10 votes in that particular area.
Yes.
And I hope as I keep going my math gets better on this, but it's going to get a little scary. But I think we're at 93 now. So now let's take a look at Precinct 4. Precinct 4, Jeff Turco was at 256. Rich Boyajian was at 70, and this is Ron Vecchia at 283. So Ron made some headway again in that precinct, which still had Jeff Turco ahead. Not sure how many by that point.
Well,
I think
Ron won Precinct 4 by 27
okay,
votes.
so 27 plus the 10, so now he's made up 37 votes on that. But so
Precinct 5 is key.
right. So precinct 5, Jeff Turco had 380 votes. Rich Boyajian had 147 votes, and Ron Vecchia had 431 votes. And that's where Ron made up most of from 1 and 2.
I'll tell you why Precinct 5 is key. 958 votes
Wow.
in Precinct 5.
Wow, that had to be that's got to be for a local town election. That's got to be a record.
That's a lot of votes for one precinct. Now, our total was 4,557 townwide.
Right.
But the votes came in on Precinct 5, and so if you're looking to see what precinct really swung the election, you could make an argument that Precinct 5
Well, and you have to say that also had a coattail of 2 people running for that Precinct 5.
You know, that's interesting. Yeah, right. There's a
slot.
lot
So,
more interest in that precinct.
You know,
perhaps.
you had, and that's why sometimes those other elections, when voters in that precinct were going out and they were saying, okay, we've got to look at the town councilor president,
Right.
town councilor at large, and a precinct.
Right.
So there was a lot of
Sure.
interest in that. And
then
then in
you can see-
precinct 6, Jeff Turco came in at 253, Rich Boyajian at 84, and Ron Vecchia at 278. And that's where, when you put it all together, Ron Vecchia comes out at 1,991 votes to Jeff Turco's 1,981 votes to Rich Boyajian's 584 votes. Let me remind you all again, these are unofficial numbers. Okay, it's important because I don't know the last time. I know that in previous, this is the town council's going into their 13th year of existence. So this is our 6th election.
Right.
We've had some close elections by 100 votes,
Right.
maybe a little less than 100 votes here or there. We have never had this close of an election in regards to the town council president by 10 votes.
That's 0.2% difference.
Wow.
Between them. Now, having a 3-candidate race does, I think, make things more interesting.
Yes.
And you know that might have been a factor too. Another big a couple notes on the precincts that stand out. In Precinct 1, you had 886 votes, and that was very close. Jeff Turco won that precinct by 3 votes. Precinct 1. Precinct 2 really stands out because there were 871 votes cast in Precinct 2, and Jeff Turco won that precinct by 100 votes. So there's a lot of data here to really digest. It's very interesting to see how this came out to be, this end result. But yeah, it's a very close race. And I'm glad you mentioned it is unofficial, but by and large, you know, we're getting these numbers from the tallies that the
Right.
voting machines are spitting out.
And as we talked about on the voting machines now, you know, they counted up exactly what was
Right.
presented to them.
Yes.
Now, there could be some ballots
Right.
that have gone in that were write-ins
Okay.
for other parties that may not, you know, so it's hard to tell. I don't know where that is, and that's something that I'm sure the town clerk's office
Right.
is working on, and they will come out on those numbers, and they will look at all of that. But just so that everybody knows, all the absentee ballots
Are
are
included.
included
Yes.
in this. That's important for people, because sometimes in those, you know, when they watch state elections and national elections, sometimes those aren't included yet as of,
Right.
but all the absentee ballots are included in these results as of now, but they are unofficial.
Yes. I have to say, too, as you mentioned before, John, is that this campaign, I think, throughout all the different races was very civil. And I think that a good discussion on the issues that the town faces happened over the last few months. And I hope that discourse continues. I think just because the election is over, that we just don't stop talking about these things that people have been for the last several weeks. And I think that there's so many great ideas out there that were presented, and I hope those continue to be explored.
Well,
so I'm looking forward to what the future brings.
If you're the town council president coming on, and you take a look at those results, you won by 10 votes, and then you have to take into account Rich Boyajian's votes as well. So you have some work cut out for you. You've got some uniting to do here.
That's a good point.
It's really important to keep moving Winthrop forward, but you have to reach across that aisle and say, okay, what can we do here to keep it going? Because it's 10-vote difference, and so people had a clear decision tonight on the direction that they wanted to go in, and they had clear beliefs in the candidates that they believed in. So, that's a huge responsibility for the town council president coming on board.
It's a good point, because if you look at percentage-wise, so you have Ron Vecchia at 43.7%. You have Jeff Turco at 43.5%, and then Rich Boyajian at 12.8%. So they got a good number of votes. I mean, this was a respectable turnout. So that's good to see too.
Either Ron or Jeff, who prevailed in this election, still have to look at the fact that 55% of the vote, they have to go and work towards bringing in to Winthrop.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm just trying to think if there's anything else along here in these results that we need to reiterate.
Do we have on the we did the school committee, right? We have the total.
One thing I wanted to mention, let's go through the school committee one more time, precinct by precinct, because that's interesting. If Ron is the new council president, does that open up a vacancy now?
So yes, so if Ron, and that's a good point that you're bringing up, because there's a couple of possibilities of vacancies that may happen on the school committee. And just so that people understand, it's not the next person that comes into the school committee. That the way our charter works is that if a school committee position opens up, the town council and the school committee have a joint meeting, and they vote on a person. The person has the right to apply for that position, and then they meet to elect that person into that appointment. So in the case of Ron Vecchia, if the results are official, when they become official and Ron is prevailed as the winner, Ron's seat in January would open up for 2 more years, because Ron is an elected, he's halfway through the term. So therefore, the town council,
the new town council, and the new school committee, would come together and appoint a new person onto that school committee.
There's also been, I believe, Laura Callis at the last or 2 school committees mentioned that she will be moving out of town, and so that she will be resigning from the school committee. Obviously, if she moves out of town, she has to. I believe they are settling on a new home. That's what she had stated. So if that all goes through, depending upon when she resigns, if she resigns before January, which could happen in the next month, then the current board under Russ Sanford as the town council president and the current town council and the school committee, the current school committee, would then appoint that person to replace Laura's term for the next 2 years. So the potential here is that you're going to have on the school committee 1, 2 new people that would go on for 2-year terms, and then 2 new people that were elected tonight. So you have 4, plus the town council president, 5, and then you would have Brian Perrin, who's going on to his 9th year as a school committee member. So and then Tino Capobianco, who's only in his 2nd year. So you have I would say a very young, experienced school committee at this point. And they will be moving forward. However, you have Ron Vecchia, who was on the school committee, who would still remain on the school committee as council president.
John, do you think you could go through the school committee tally one more time? I don't know if we've gone through each precinct by candidate. If we could do that, that would be great. And then I think we'll probably wrap things up shortly.
Sounds like good. Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so here we go. School
Okay,
committee.
so school committee in precinct 1, James Fabiano, 503, Jen Powell, 482, John Lyons, 398, and Brian Perrin at 537. Precinct 2, James Fabiano at 558, Jen Powell at 479, John Lyons at 379, and Brian Perrin at 521. Precinct 3, James Fabiano at 347, Jen Powell at 332, John Lyons at 281, and Brian Perrin at 384. In Precinct 4, we have James Fabiano at 356, Jen Powell at 326, John Lyons at 275, and Brian Perrin at 345. Precinct 5, James Fabiano at 564, Jen Powell at 550, John Lyons at 450, and Brian Perrin at 573. Precinct 6, James Fabiano at 358, Jen Powell at 358, John Lyons at 271, and Brian Perrin at 361. And so the totals elected, Brian Perrin came in first at 2,721 votes. Jim Fabiano came in second at 2,686 votes. Jen Powell at 2,527 votes came in third, and John Lyons at 2,054 votes came in fourth. So once again, congratulations to Brian Perrin, to James Fabiano, and to Jen Powell. I have to do a shout out to Frankie.
Yes.
Frankie Fabiano, who was the campaign manager for Jim Fabiano. Congratulations, Frankie. Congratulations, Jen Powell. I mean, Jen came on this election. A lot of people didn't know who Jen was. A lot of people didn't know a lot of, different candidates. And the videos that people did, I think it just goes to show you that people watch these things. They get interested. They want to know what's happening. So you have two people who have contributed a lot into the community as Jen Powell, Jim Fabiano, who are newly elected, as well as Brian Perrin, who, Brian, we all know Brian and the work that he's done on the school committee and as selectman.
I just want to say too, John, that all candidates should be proud.
Yes.
Because it was a well-run campaign, and it's a lot of effort. It's a lot of work.
It is. It starts in June for some of these people.
Yeah. And so kudos for putting that time in being willing to step up and make a sacrifice to improve your community. So I think hats off to everybody who ran. And thank you. Thank you for throwing your hat into the ring, if you will.
So I think at this time, I think we've
I
done
think we're
what
going to wrap up. The only
we-
other thing that we should probably go through one more time is the Housing Authority, in case
Yes.
anybody missed that.
Okay.
We could probably just do the totals on the
Totals
housing.
on the housing, that would
on
be
the
great.
Housing Authority, just so everybody knows, because we had 5 candidates for 2 slots.
So we had Peter Gill, who came in first place at 2595 for votes, and we had Fred Silk, who came in second place at 2,045 votes. And then we had in third place, I believe at that point, was Marie Matarazzo at 1,173 votes. And then in fourth place was Mr. Burke, Peter Burke Jr. at 1,095 votes. And in fifth place was Vincent Wisniewski Jr. at 357 votes.
And then of the precinct races, we had 1 contested race this year. That was Precinct 5. If we could throw those results up. Precinct 5, we had...
Go ahead. Why don't you give that?
Steve Kudalakis at 248, and Peter Christopher at 667. So congratulations to Peter Christopher on his election for Precinct 5 Council.
Can we put up the counselor at large on those
Yes.
final votes as well,
Yeah,
so that people can see what the final votes were, the counselor at large? So that goes to Michael Lucerdo at 2,279 votes, to Robert A. DeMarco at 1,799 votes. So again, congratulations to Michael Lucerdo, who is the newly elected counselor at large.
Right, I think we've gone through everybody at this point. Again, in Precinct 3, unopposed, Nicola Conti, congratulations on your election with 466 votes. And for counselor for Precinct 1, congratulations to Mike McDuffie on receiving 665 votes. He's newly elected. And all 3 members of the Board of Trustees for the Public Library have been reelected.
Correct.
And I'll just give you their totals for the sake of history. You have Jillian Teixeira at 3,022, Betty Peabody 3,042, and Virginia Wallace at 3,093. So congratulations to all 3 trustees on their reelection to library trustees.
So I think we should conclude, Eric. I think that...
I think everybody knows by now who won.
I think so, but
And-
once again, I just want to remind everybody that the president's election they're all unofficial. The president's election was decided by 10 votes. 10
and
votes.
the town clerk will most likely be posting the official results later tonight, typically, or might be tomorrow. It
Might be
depends. I
tomorrow.
mean,
Might be.
I don't know.
Right.
But so if you are interested in finding out, all of this information, you can go online to the town's website and you can actually see the breakdown precinct by precinct. What we did tonight with the help of our volunteers
Yeah.
is we sent runners out to each of the 3 polling places, and they reported the results that came out of the polling machines, and that's what we reported to you tonight. So these were the numbers that we got firsthand, at the scene. And I have to say, this will go down as
This is history tonight.
one of the closest races. I know that there have been other selectmen races in the past that have come down to just a handful of votes.
Right, but it goes
and I think
back-
Ron Vecchia was involved in that one too, actually.
It goes back to your rant right before the election when you were talking about people who were like, I'll exclude the
They don't get
you know,
involved
the
in local
local
elections.
election, and yet look at how important those votes are.
That's a good point, John. 10 votes.
10 votes.
That's
I mean, if you're running in a campaign, you're sitting there saying, I can pick up 10 votes tomorrow. I know how I can do that, but
right.
it's hard. And so, and it's hard to also be the person who lost by that. It's difficult.
Oh, that's going to be tough. So I think all we're going to do one last time is just do the totals for council president, and then I think we're going to wrap that up.
Okay.
Do want to thank, as you mentioned
First of all,
before-
I want to thank Mike Cabral,
Yes.
WCAT Executive Director, Kurt Erickson,
Yep.
Matthew Rose, Johnny Cataldo, Barbara Bishop, and Betsy Shane tonight for helping us with all of the
Yes.
results that came in. Mike Mahoney has also been added. Thank you, Mike. He's always here. He's over at Salem State, but he always finds himself here when it's important.
Nobody's better than Mikey, and also thank you to our special guest.
Special guest Russ Sanford for everything he did for us tonight,
Thank you,
coming
Russ.
in, and for his 12 years of service that he will do. I think Russ has a countdown on that. He's probably, I think it's like 56 days or something. But
So if we could do the final tally again for council president, well, John, if you want to do the honors on that, and then that'll be it.
It appears that the unofficial results are in, and Ronald Vecchia has come in first place with 1991.
Can you look at that? Look at just,
Second place, Jeff Turco at 1981.
wow.
And then Rich Boyajian at 584 votes. So
I
Winthrop,
think we knew it was going to be close, John, right?
did,
I don't know
we
it was
did.
going to be this close, but
no,
yeah.
we knew it was going to be close. There was
One
no
way or the
question
other,
about it.
you knew that
And
this was going to be a close race.
So in the end, as we close, I want to thank the Winthrop citizens today who took the
Yes.
time out to go out, who took the time over the past 2 months to listen to the candidates, to watch the debates, to watch the various advertisements that they did. But more importantly, thank you for going out and voting. When we talk a lot about in today's national politics and all of these things about what's going on, this is what makes our country special. It makes our country special because you have the right to vote, and tonight you did that. So thank you all very much, and I wish you all a good night.